I'm sure you left the theater with a huge grin on your face as you became enamored with the violence and the explosions created by some overtly cute protagonists. But by the time you got home, can you really recall anything great beyond the superficiality? It's time to admit that the Suicide Squad isn't as good as the hype around it.
What?
We're here to save you.
You were gonna save me?
It was a really good plan, too.
Well, I can go back inside and you can still do it.
Let's face it, we were just so excited to see a better DC movie, and the Suicide Squad is a fun ride. Within the first 15 minutes, you get a glimpse of what the next 2 hours is going to be, which is just aimless violence with a soundtrack to match. But firstly, 2+ hours? Really? There's the same 5 jokes put on loop and it got really old fast. You have to shut your mind off and go full Beavis and Butthead if you really want to enjoy the whole movie in its entirety. Secondly, did you really care about any of our protagonists? Superficially, they've all completed their arcs. Neptune discovered the Valley of Friends, Ratcatcher and Bloodsport became the best father and daughter duo that they needed each other, and Polka Dot died hating his mother, or something like that. Anyways, it was just so contrived, and I had no reason to cheer for any of them. Blake Snyder was right when he said it's better to spend an intro on saving a cat than blowing stuff up, which is exactly what this movie did. Blowing stuff up with a loud soundtrack in its first 15 minutes. Even as anti-heroes, there's a reason why we love them, like the Joker, or even Cruella for damn sake. There's a reason why they do what they do, and it's driven by themes that are relatable for the human in all of us.
What's the plan?
How the hell am I supposed to know?
You're the leader. You're supposed to be decisive.
And I've decided that you should eat a big bag of dicks.
If this whole beach was completely covered in dicks, and somebody said I'd eat every dick until the beach was clean for liberty, I would say no problemo.
What?
But let's get back to the antagonists. All 3 antagonists, or 4 of them if you count them. Who was really the real bad guy who challenged their theme of being a team, if there was even a theme? Whether it was Wallace, the General, the Crazy Doctor, the millionaire obsessed with Harley Quinn, the Starfish. I can't even remember any of their names, and the villains are just a cliche of all the other villain movies tossed in for fun, and they were quite frankly pretty boring. Also, what was the theme? Did they really care for each other, and why did they care for each other? All the great action movies actually have a story to tell, a strong theme, a bond, a journey, etc. It's like Hemingway's Iceberg. We can see the plot and the narrative, but there's so many things beyond it, such as the thoughts and the feelings and the symbols behind the movie, that you just inherently know it's a good movie. And if you're going for gun movies, that's one thing Guardians of the Galaxy had over this DC round of the gun show. They were driven by a common enemy that had an impact in their life in one way or another, and they had to put aside their differences to save the galaxy.
Love them or hate them, these are your brothers and sisters for the next few days.
Here, there was just no conflict between our teammates. Their bonds are about as thin as the paper that they probably used to snort coke at the bar, which for some reason made them all magically friends. And in the end, they had to go save Harley Quinn for some reason. None of them even know who she is. Then at the end, of course, they all had to become heroes. They grew a heart and decided to save the city. But it was a very choppy progression from being a bunch of selfish assholes to suddenly being heroes with a heart of gold. Clearly, the writers were just more focused on Ratcatcher 2 and Bloodsport's daddy-daughter issue as a shallow attempt to carry any emotion and theme. But they were the best 2 characters, and they were carried by the acting prowess of Melchor and Idris Elba.
Nothing like a bloodbath to start the day.
But beyond that, if you look back on the movie, you'll find that there never really was any much to carry this movie in the first place, beyond violence and music. It's still worth a watch for the entertainment, and I did like the movie, but it's far from being one of the highest caliber DC movies, like Batman. It was an entertaining film, and sometimes that's okay too, and I definitely had fun, but it wasn't as great as everybody made it out to be. But even so, I'd say watch it, just because it's fun.
We failed the mission, you die.
If we find out any information you give us is false, you die.
If you cough without covering your mouth.
Harley, no. Although that isn't an open invitation for you to cough without covering your mouth.